All right, everybody, we are back. It's time for the main topic today. Today, what are we doing? We're doing Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Amongst Thieves. So I'm excited to get this going. So where are we at here? 2023 PG-13, 1 hour 14 minutes. Action adventure.
No, 2 hours 14.
Oh, I'm sorry,
minutes.
2 hours. Never mind. Action adventure comedy. A charming thief and a band of unlikely adventurers embark on an epic quest to retrieve a lost relic. But things go dangerously awry when they run afoul on the wrong people. So.
Oh, okay. That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah. So
not bad.
Yeah. So, Tiff, who's in this flickeroni?
All right. We got quite a few people here. We got Chris Pine, obviously, Michelle Rodriguez, Regé-Jean Page, Justice Smith, Sophia Lillis, Hugh Grant, Chloe Coleman, Daisy Head, Jason Wong, and then Bradley Cooper has a small.
Yeah, he sure did
in this. Yeah, interesting small. Yeah, I didn't realize when I said that was sort of humorous, but yes, a small role.
All right, man. So before we go any further, it's time for one.
Yeah.
So Tiff, one word. What you got?
My one word is exactly.
Explain.
In the grand scheme of things, this movie is a popcorn film. It's not like you are going to see this. You're not going to like be writing this down maybe as one of the best movies you've ever seen. But I think the intent of this film, it's there. They knew exactly what they wanted to do, and they achieved it. And I feel like it's exactly what a Dungeons and Dragons movie should be.
Wow, that's interesting coming from you. I was actually really interested when this was over with. I said, I wonder how Tiff felt about this. I literally thought about that. Like, So my one word is charming. I
very charming.
Had a very good time watching this movie. Somewhere around the middle, it got a little lowy, but then they picked it right back up. And the characters were very interesting. I really liked a lot of the special effects, man. Like the creature people and stuff, you know. I was like, it looks goofy, but it looks good. You know, it was like, you know, like the Jonathan, you know, like, oh God, it just looked good, man. And I like the plot. I like the storyline. I like that they had a villain, but a real villain, you know. So it was complex enough that it wasn't so linear that it was like, we are going to fight the evil wizard in the castle, and it started that way, ended that way, you know. So it didn't do that. Yeah. So it was enough to keep you on your toes and give you a story and some feel good characters that I liked. A lot of laugh out loud moments in the theater where I was at. Unfortunately, I had a bunch of little bastards that was unattended that was running around town because I didn't know it was Good Friday when I watched this thing, and people just dropped the damn badass baby kids all over the damn theater and
Montego can barely stand to have anyone else in the theater with him at all, period.
I mean, literally, they were just playing, you know?
Remember that time that you were so mad about the people eating hot dogs?
Yeah, because it smelled so bad. It smelled so much.
Oh, my God.
I was just like, God damn, I don't think I want to go to the movies no more. I could do this at the house, you know? So, yeah.
Back before you could get a variety of strange foods at the theater, because
it was
maybe I don't know when it started changing over, because I worked at a theater for a short time when I was a teenager.
Started changing in college.
Yeah, and I think that because I worked at the theater, people who worked at the theater would always bring, even people who didn't work at the theater, but I didn't know about this, would bring in real food from the outside. People would bring in pizzas, and they would bring in Chinese food to eat. But one of the most infamous stories.
Not that serious for me, but go ahead.
My friend Greg had told me that when he worked at the theater, and he's a little bit older than me, that he had once found an empty bucket of KFC with printed off pornography.
What the hell? What's
on a dot matrix in the... The person was going to the movies to have themselves a day.
What the hell was going on back there?
I don't know. They had an appointment with whatever movie was on the screen. Some dot matrix porno and some chicken. I don't know what it was. I don't know what was printed out, but he said it was physically printed pornography.
The file in the movie theater, jizz all over.
And then it just, well, I mean, you guys, movie theaters are way grosser than you could ever imagine. But I remember once they were like, when you go to clean the traps for the soda, be aware because there could be rats. I remember that. So just don't ever think too much about what you're doing when you go to the movies or what might have happened there before you is all I'm saying. Anyway,
I am out forever. So let's get the spoilers and get this started here.
Non-rat spoilers. Yeah.
So we start this thing off, and we get this tale, and I like how they started it because that's a good way to start a movie like this. That they're in jail,
exactly,
and he's really not a hero. It's so weird because he's the lute player, which also
he's a bard
as a weapon that which is kind of funny. So I guess they get pardoned. They get a chance to get pardoned every year. And it's him and his buddy's turn to go get pardoned. A Michelle Rodriguez character. What was her name? Humba, something like that. It was Holga, right? And looks like Michelle Rodriguez put on just a little bit of buff for this role, man. I was like, man,
I think she looks great. I think she's perfect for this role. 100%. She's kind of like what I would say is a barbarian, right? Yep. She's like the berserker. She's the heavy. Yep. And from the moment that they come on screen, this duo is so charming.
Good chemistry
together. Yes, they work really well. I do think that this one of the things I find was done really well about this movie is that yes, we start out here with some exposition that's verbal, but it works really well because he is a storyteller, and that makes it. And that's kind of how you set up a D&D campaign, is you have like your DM tells a story, and then I feel like when we move through, so in Dungeons and Dragons, if you play it, I've only played a little bit. But, like, you don't just say, okay, we're going to fight this dragon. Maybe you do. But you go on all these little side quests first to get your...
story, right.
Yeah, you're not going to get... Your level 1 druid isn't going to be going to fight this dragon right away. You're going to go and you're going to get some armor and you're going to go to different towns. And this is kind of like what they do in this movie without saying, these are the quests that we're going on.
I didn't think about that, but you're absolutely right.
Yep, they go on these little quests to get the right.
How he started the story 17 times because he was trying to stall for Jonathan to come, and he just kept saying it over and over. And it, sometimes that doesn't work, but it worked really well. Chris Pine was super charming in this role, and when they grabbed the poor fella and jumped out the window with him, I felt so bad for him. I was like,
he looked legitimately scared. You did feel bad for this weird CGI Raven person. You're like, he just looked so shocked that it was happening to him.
His little good robes and stuff. I was like, damn, man. And then they left him in the snow. They left him knocked out in the snow, man. I was like, damn, so. This
character has no dialogue ever in the movie, but you remember his name because everyone's just like, Jonathan.
Yeah. It tells the story of how his wife died and how he was a part of the order. And, I saw him when he looked at that thing. And they show who the bad guys was, the red witches and wizards and shit like that. And so it set it up nice. And then the girl having a daughter and stuff, and she being left behind. So then they go through this whole, tale of showing how they got this band of thieves. And I was surprised to see that the Hugh Grant character was on their side in the beginning. I didn't realize that. I thought he was just going to be some rich dude that they were trying to steal from the whole time. But he was actually on their team. And, the witch did this time spell. They got caught. And he took the daughter to raise. And so I was like, well, could be worse, but not bad. Like as far as like what could have happened to his kid, because the kid was one of the thieves with him, which was kind of
yes. Yeah. I think you have this like little ragtag bunch of group, and then they break up, and then they come back together, which is another D&D hallmark. You lose your people all the time. I thought that there was a lot of little, really subtle hints. I'm not a big D&D player, so I'd have to talk to somebody who was. That I think were like very loving nods to the way that you actually play this game, including like the actually funny things that do happen to the people, like when they talk to the dead guy.
Yeah.
And it's very funny.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and not in like a forced way, in like an actually like this would be funny if this was happening in the game that you were playing, or just generally speaking, and they're also exasperated and very real as humans.
Yeah. So they started picking up characters, and I liked when they do this shit in movies, so they pick up.
I do too.
they picked the Jaden Smith character, who was the shitty wizard, because the wizard is always shitty in these things for some reason, just half-ass doing it. And he was ripping off the people, and them bastards, they wanted to murder his ass once they found out what he was doing. Those hijinks with the up and down, and his cowardliness, which is kind of stereotype. But anyway, he had no confidence in things that he was doing, and but he joined their quest, and then they find, and I don't know what the owl girl was called. She's
a druid. She's a tiefling druid. Her name was Doric.
Yep, and she was actually the most talented of everybody. Well, I can't even say that because Holga could fight. And that was her thing.
She was very powerful.
Yeah, she was whooping ass. She was even like, I don't need you going somewhere. I mean, because she fought by herself every single time. I mean, when they got caught, he sat there for the whole fight talking about the Chris Pine character trying to get his ropes off. She had beat everybody's ass, and he never.
People were laughing in my theater about that. They thought it was so funny. And all these little subtle things that happen in this movie. And I do think a lot of times so we have that very powerful red sorcerer that they're evil and just because they're doing blood magic and things like that, which is traditionally really bad. And then Justice Smith, who can do no wrong in my eyes. Shout out Detective Pikachu. So I think he works really well for this role as the kind of because almost every wizard and I feel like kind of this kind of movie or story has self-doubt and needs to learn to overcome it, because otherwise, if they were as powerful as they end up, because he ends up being very powerful, if they were that powerful from the beginning, it would be like a Deus Ex Machina situation where there'd be no point in the quest. There'd be no growth. He would just boop, done.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love the way that they all find out, again, not to keep harping on this D&D situation, but they all kind of find out their own way to work within the team structure. Yeah. Which is very great.
Yeah, because
it's a great way to do a ensemble cast.
Yeah. So they add the young lady, and she's cool, and he used to date. I like how they was I used to court her, she barely remember who the hell he was, so that was cool. And then, so the what's his name? Uncle Forge. So Forge ended up being a total piece of shit, man. And his betrayal, even though he smiled the whole time that he betrayed him, it was a super duper betrayal, man. I was like, God damn, not only he didn't stole his daughter, got him calling, so I said he's a father and all this stuff, and, turned the girl against them 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But he couldn't turn the girl against Helga though, which I thought was really interesting. And I didn't even get it until later to the end of the film. I was like, oh, that's her real mama. Goddamn, I ain't never even think about that.
Right. They show, they do show at the beginning, but you don't really. I think that does another good point of this movie is that there's a lot of small emotional resonances that they put in throughout that makes that ending with that how it ends for her very plausible, understandable, and way better than the original intent of the assumed ending, which would be to revive the mother, because she doesn't know her mom.
Yeah, and it turned out it was really for him. I'm going to tell you something else that this film did really well. The film never took me out of the film. And because, they had some beautiful New Zealand shots and shit, but they always threw in some mystical elements or some dumb shit. Like they were going through that forest and it was this big ass spider climbing up the tree.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really for you to see, but it was enough to keep you in this to be like, oh yeah, this is D&D. It's danger everywhere. This is not New Zealand where we're on some horses pretending like we're in a different place. It was always a reminder that you were in this world. And I think the director did a really good job at that, because oftentimes your brain will wonder and start thinking this is some shit in history. You know what I'm saying? Just because of how they're doing. It never happened. Even when they were in the towns, there was always some kind of reminder that things were different. It's like when she went to go see her ex-husband, and Bradley Cooper comes out and he's waist high, and it was damn, didn't expect that, you know what I'm saying? But interesting, and it was an interesting thing, and there was no fight, and, she had to get over what the wrong that she had there. And but the whole time, even his new woman was some big old girl, bigger than she was.
Yeah, I loved that. And then later in the movie, when she sees another, of whatever race that is, the small people, maybe a halfling of something or like that. She was like, ooh,
Yeah, yeah.
very like excited about it. And I thought that these are the kind of things like, and also just like the small personal growths that we get in this movie without having it. All of the characters change and grow,
Yeah.
but you're not sitting there going, oh, all of these characters are changing and growing. You get that naturally in your brain. You just like it's something that evolves in your brain as you watch them. And I think that's a really good accomplishment for a movie that's 2 hours. Do you know what I mean? With that many characters, and that at the end you can say, oh, I saw how almost all of these people changed.
So let's talk about one of my favorite characters who I didn't think was going to be one of my favorite characters. And that's Zinnik. Is that Zinnik?
Zinc?
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
That's Reggae Jean Paul.
Now,
coming in a little cheesy spaghetti, but still like exactly right.
Yeah, I thought, those characters normally come in and they're like, dope and charming. And I thought he was going to be a part of the campaign, and he wasn't. He was only in the movie for, the time that he was in it. But his character, I thought, was so well done with, not understanding irony or understanding, anything that he was just, I am perfect. It wasn't like I am perfect, but he was just like, I'm here. This is what he was so old that he had so much wisdom that he didn't even engage in that stuff. And I thought that was so well done. And the fight that they had with the lava, with the fat dragon, it was just a bunch of fun, man. I enjoyed that so much.
This movie is very fun. And I do think that like, that's maybe where a lot of the older Dungeons and Dragons had gone into a little bit of a trap, because at some point during the movie, even if there's a funny character, they try to get really serious. Yeah. And this movie deals with what you would consider, if it was really happening, quote unquote, right? Mm-hmm. It's a Dungeons and Dragons. But if it was really happening in real life, it'd be very fucking serious. This man's robbing an entire town of his money and turning them all into zombies, right? So, but it's presented in this way that like, you're on this quest, you're doing this thing, you have your own, everyone has their own individual reasons, but they're coming together for the same thing. And that Reggae Jean Paul character, they also do a really good job of this movie of making fun of people without any kind of cruelty, which is very...
He knew when they was making fun of him, right. He had the little subtle smiles because he knew that, and then he said, when he was walking away, and he was like, I bet you he's going to walk in a straight line. Watch, he's not going to walk around it, and he walks up the rock, and it was like so stupid. Like, why are you... That
was one of my favorite parts of the movie, and he's like, look at him walk away. Right. So straight. I think that this is a return for Chris Pine. Do you remember, like, this was probably about 3 or 4 months ago, I said, I kind of missed the Chris Pine that was like a lovable goofball rather than like a serious guy. Yeah. And I think this is kind of the return to the lovable goofball Chris Pine that is really kind of his... He was a lovable master stroke.
Yeah, because I remember that movie that he was in with Tom Hardy, This Is War, something like that. It was like a romantic comedy with Reese Witherspoon, and they were both like going after the same lady. It was like spy versus spy, and he was really a super goofball in that movie too. It was really good. It was him at like his best and stuff. So, so the heist happens. I love the heist with the portal, and that was so good. Original. It was so original, right? You never seen this before, right? And and then the lady gets in there, and then end up in the wrong place, and then they're in now. My favorite part, actually was the climax, the arena. The arena was something you'd never seen before, but it was very Dungeons and Dragons-y, big time, Yeah. So Tiff, I don't know if you knew it or not, but that other group that was running through the maze that was in the cage at the end, that was the group of kids from the cartoon, the TV show.
Get the fuck out!
All of them. That was the ranger. That was all of them. That was the group. And so when I saw them when it first came, I said, "Oh shit, they got them in there!" And so again, but they lasted to the end, and they were in that cage, and I was like, "That's all of them. That's all of them. That's the barbarian. The kid, it was Tommy. It was all of them. They looked exactly like the cartoon." So that was for me, because
that was for moi. I really liked that. Speaking of that, I thought this movie did a really nice thing for fans of D&D by putting in what was clearly a lot of... I mean, we hear about Winterfell and other places, Baldur's Gate, things that like that you're like, okay, those are real things. Yeah. The monsters that people were really excited to see, including the leopard thing that's in there.
With whatever.
Yeah, with the ability to teleport and show itself. The mimic, which is the chest that has that's a fake chest.
Yeah, yeah.
Like all of these things that would be just as fun for someone who has no idea what they quote unquote are, their names, their history, whatever. And the people who do know those things and are really excited to see them without it being like, hey everybody. I'd say the one thing that I do is say Owlbear.
Yeah.
Is as hard a touch as we get as far as saying this is a thing from the thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's really the right way to do this kind of a movie, because there are going to be a lot of people who aren't going to see it, and the people who do know about it already know. They don't need you to pander to them in any way. It's fun for them to see it, but they don't need you to be like, and here's a breakdown of exactly how you would do this in this situation in a D&D thing. Because like you said, they go through the maze. Very D&D, especially to get to your pinnacle point and then be like, well, actually, fantastic. I love the way they give the money back to the people and get them out of the Coliseum, because I didn't even see how that, like, I was like, how are they going to save these fucking people?
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
You know something, what I really like about that part is that it didn't become a thing. You know, what I just, you know, I thought everybody was going to turn into zombies and it's going to be this thing, and, you know, but they got them out real quick and it wasn't even a big thing. The biggest fight in the whole movie was the wizard fight between Justice Smith and the lady, you know, with the hands. And I was like, this is cool. This is something I've never seen before.
It was really cool.
And it really worked. And they prevailed in the end. You know, it was...
And to highlight the differences between the two of them, because her shit's fucking nasty and his is very elemental. And like just seeing all of these and the way that they came together to work together. And then, of course, as we already discussed, so our Holga character passes away. She doesn't make it. And then instead of using the resurrection stone on her, or on the mom, they use it on her.
I'm so dumb because I didn't see that coming. Nobody...
I didn't either.
You know.
Listen, I pride myself always bragging about seeing what's coming. And I'm not saying, you know, and there's tons of movies that I don't see what's coming. But like, I was like, oh, I didn't see that. When I saw that she was dying, I was like, oh, okay. I know that's going to happen now. But I wasn't
at
like...
that point, I was just like,
oh, okay.
I was just like, damn, she gone. I was like, so they...
I was really sad. And I think that that's a really another... No, that was my fault. Just another great part of this movie is that, like, you're so charmed and excited by the thing that you didn't even know. Yeah. You're like, oh, that relieves me. That relieves the tension I didn't know I was going to have.
I was actually relieved that somebody died. I was like, oh, the movie has stakes. I did not see her dying, and then she didn't die. But it was very heartwarming when the girl was going through her memory. And I was like, damn, that is her mama. You know, I was like, shit. She was in a state of her dying than anything else, even the daddy, you know?
I agree. I think that's actually true. I think also that return and the people all surviving felt less cheap because there was a sacrifice. He's never going to get his wife back now, which was the whole plot of the movie. Yes. So, like, if you have something that, like, if you bait and switch me, I'm not mad as long as it makes sense and there is still, I mean, like you said, I just want there has to be a reason. There has to be something that you sacrifice. Otherwise, I'm just watching you do this. But
it was told really well. I like when, I think Zen told him, he was like, this is only one realm. Yo, you're probably going to snatch her from something that she might be enjoying, you know, to come back here. And I was like, I didn't think about that. You know, she might be in paradise and all of a sudden she back here looking at you again. I might already know the end of the story, you know. So that was really charming, and I enjoyed this movie. You know, I kept thinking the whole time, like, this is a damn charming movie. I'm really enjoying it without it going so far to me like, this is the best movie ever. I mean, yeah, it had its problems, but, you know, not enough to make me not enjoy having a good time at the theater, man. You know,
I feel like there's lots of differences between what makes a good movie and a bad movie, but one of them is like just your ability to be able to enjoy it without being like, there's sometimes in a movie that you're like, I've stopped enjoying this, and I can tell that I'm like, whatever. And I didn't have that moment in this movie, which is great. Another good thing that happened to me at this movie was, as you know, I'd been gone Thursday through Saturday for a music festival in Iowa City. And when I came back on Saturday night, I went to see the movie. And this is the second week that it's out. And my little sister ended up at the same theater, the same showing as me with her friends.
That's funny. That's funny.
My theater was that's kind of nice.
No,
yeah.
Oh, okay. This is not the first week it was out. This is the second week it's out.
Is it? Oh. I thought it was the second week, but I could be wrong. So maybe I'm wrong.
I think it's the first week. I think. So, no, I don't know. Maybe.
Either way, strange that we would end up in the same place at the same time.
Yeah. So that's it, man. I think we did it. We came to do the thing and we got it done. It was a fun time at the theater, man. Next week, man, I think, I don't know, man. We got so many choices. We were leaning heavy toward Mario, but we got to look and see what we're going to do here. So that's it, man. I'm the host, Fans of Patrol. My name is Montego. With me is my wonderful co-host, Ms. Tifflebot. Say goodbye to these lovelies, Tiff.
It has been a pleasure, as always.
Indeed. And until next week, we will be on
On
Patrol.
Patrol.